Alright, so for my first actual vid topic, I thought I would go with, I'd never covered something like this before. It's something I've been thinking about over, past few months. It's where you have to separate your own moral quibbles with the greater good. Um, it comes, there's all these things that different groups have problems with, pornography, drugs, alcohol, abortion. And the thing is, there comes a time you have to actually think about what would happen if these things were actually successfully outlawed. And I mean, you can take there's evidence as to what happens. Back during the Prohibition, they outlawed alcohol. What happened? Alcohol didn't go away, crime increased. Because what happens when something is no longer regulated? People still want their vices. That just means that the organized crime takes over. And whereas actual companies would compete in marketing and stuff like this, organized crime will compete in shootouts on the streets, killing civilians, robberies, all this horrible stuff. That's what happens when you make something like that illegal. That's what's happening right now with drugs, because drugs are illegal. We have this huge drug war in Mexico. Hundreds of people being killed, including, for those who only care about their own country, including U.S. citizens. I mean, it's spilling over the border, and then when tourists go over there, they're getting killed. They find these huge pits in the desert just full of corpses. I mean, that's what happens. And these people are fighting over drugs. And I mean, most of the drugs in the U.S. come from Mexico. Um, I mean, I don't see any problem with like marijuana being legalized, but like the harder drugs, I find that stuff disgusting. It's disgusting, is what it is. The usage and peddling of it. But I mean, it comes a point you have to think. This killing is not going to stop. Maybe it needs to be regulated. I mean, if someone wants to ruin their own lives, that is their choice. But by making it illegal, you're taking the choice out of all these innocent bystanders' hands. Another thing like pornography, people up in arms over pornography. You know, if that's made illegal, it used to be illegal. Used to be most of that stuff was underground, also run by organized crime, and the people involved with it were treated horribly. Not all of them were even volunteers. Some of them were just people looking for money, and they were manipulated, and they were abused, and they were taken advantage of. And I mean, porn stars now, some of them, they're rich. They live great lives, aside from STDs and stuff like that. But still, I mean, at least they're in control of their own lives. Um, so I mean, say what you want about it, but it shouldn't be. I don't think it should be made illegal. Um, Abortion. I am against most abortion, but I realize that if it was ever made illegal, those back alley abortion clinics where they use like a rusty clothes hanger, those would skyrocket. I mean, realistically, I have to realize that one death is better than two deaths. I mean, it's just you have to think about stuff like that. So I mean, I'd rather people, not use abortion as a form of birth control, but I it is something I don't see any other way around it besides like maybe educating people and stuff, alternate forms, maybe adoption or other forms of birth control, putting out, you should use a condom. Use a condom, that kind of thing. Just drill that into their heads. But I mean, I know there's rape scenarios and stuff, and that's an extenuating circumstance. Even I'm okay if someone is raped and they get an abortion. I mean, that's something that was forced on them. They shouldn't have to live with the consequences of that. I'm also fine with if there's a complication with pregnancy and a life is going to be lost either way. Yeah, the family should be able to choose which life it is. But I mean, no abortion should be made illegal, I don't think. I mean, past a certain point. I mean, but, all these things, you have to, no matter what you think on them, they you just can't actually go out there and rationally say that they should be made illegal. Guns. There's all these people who say that guns should be made illegal. You know what happens if guns are made illegal? Take a look at the UK. Guns are so scarce over there, but they have the highest crime rate in all of Europe. They have a higher crime rate than here in the US, where we have guns by a considerable margin. Um, let's talk. Say people who are against meat eating. Take away the meat industry. That's a huge, huge industry. You'd cause another stock market crash if you took that away. There goes your whole way of living. I mean, you just you gotta when you think about this kind of thing, when you think about when you think on a situation, is this moral? Well, do I think this is moral or not? Then you have to think past it. What does my opinion? Where does my opinion end, and where does the reality of the situation ingrained into our society begin? You know, it's just something you have to think about. I think that's that's pretty much what I have to say on that. So once again, it's good to be back. See y'all.